This is Radically Alive Women's Edgecast.
No matter what, even in terms of my deep service and love of cacao and to cacao, that's my ultimate quest, is the greatness of who we are and what we're here for as a feminine, as a woman, as a human being, and as a divine being.
Hello and welcome to Radically Alive Women, Oonagh Browne. I'm glad to see you here and I'm curious what this conversation will bring about. You bring this bundle of variety of who you are. I can sense that. I see that on your website. And the first place for me to start is you're a cacao ambassador. But also you have her story of having been in the corporate world in London. And will you say something about yourself so that we hear your voice and where are you at right now in terms of who you are?
Well, it's beautiful to be here and an honor. So thank you for inviting me. So I am 53 and I've had a big life of many change ups in that. And the reason why I share my age is because I know the magnificence that's possible for woman, the feminine, in this phase of life if we truly harness all of our journeys thus far. And it's a time of great freedom and possibility. And to be able to share that also gives every woman in whatever stage of life they're at the invitation to know it can just get better and better, and that even the greatest part is yet to come. And so we can always look forward to all of life. So I have a Catholic upbringing. I was born in Ireland and a very conditioned environment. And I never felt like I could fully shine in that environment. So I left in my early 20s after I finished university and ticked the boxes and working in a big corporate world, but very quickly got quite soul destroyed in knowing I don't know what is for me, but it's not this, and I can't do it much longer. And it didn't take me very long to get to that point. But the more I was promoted, the more I was able to see the game and the distortion. And I look back and I played the game very well. I don't like that version of myself, but also in compassion, I've really loved that version of myself.
What was the game?
I worked for a big multinational company, an American company who have a lot of products and brands out in the market. And it was all about how do we sell more? What's the bottom line for the shareholders? What tricks can we play to get consumers to buy in and believe in this brand and this product? They looked after their staff well, but even that was all a game and how to get you tied in for life, right? So I was surrounded by people who might have been there maybe 5, 6, 8 years more than me, and you had shares and you had all these levels, and I could see the fear in everybody about leaving, right? So then they were hooked in, and then you suddenly become a bigger puppet in the whole wheel, and so I could see those levels, but not as clearly as I can see them now. But I just knew that I can't live what I call this linear life. But I didn't have an alternative. I didn't have anything to show me anything different. And so I was starting to have low level depression because it was like this was this weight of looking ahead and looking at peers and those even friends who might be 10 years older than me, and none of it inspired me. So it's just like, why am I here? And this does not inspire me, this life, this world is just, what I could see. And it was getting to a place where I'm like, I have to do something radical here. And so I was in a long-term relationship, and my ex-husband, now we got married, and it's still, I tried everything. Does that tick the box? Does that tick the box? And then on our honeymoon, we met this couple, and they were traveling, just traveling. I never heard of anything like that. I was like, what? They'd unplugged from the world, and they were just traveling indefinitely. And everything in me lit up in that. And I'm like, I've got to do that. I've got to unplug and just be free and discover. And, of course, it's really common now. People like, take time out and travel. And, New Zealanders have done that forever. But in Ireland, you did not do that. You signed up, you did university, you got the career, you had the house, the family, there was this list of things that's what life was like. So we sold everything, and within 9 months, we just were traveling. Yeah. And that was profound and an amazing catalyst to really my knowing that I'm just here in a big quest to discover who I am, who humanity is, why we're here. And no matter what, even in terms of my deep service and love of Cacao and to Cacao, that's my ultimate quest, is the greatness of who we are and what we're here for as a feminine, as a woman, as a human being, and, you know, as a divine being. Yeah. I'm pausing so you know, because I could talk for 30 minutes.
Something's happening in my heart as I listen to you. I feel some sadness and some relaxing. Also, I'm touched by your courage to honor this. I know it as a quite quiet voice, but a persistent voice, and I think it's easy enough to go over it, especially when you're scared. And so I honor that you've taken courageous steps to find your way out, or to unplug, as you said it. At the same time, somehow you found a way, it sounds like, to harness the wisdom that was in it for you, like to receive also the information, not just okay, this doesn't work for me, fuck this shit, and I'm just gonna now be free and travel and find the next thing I can latch onto. It's like, how did you go deeper?
I think that's a really, really important point. And that wasn't the first time I did it in my life. There was many times after that I had to do something similar in terms of finding myself back in a very dense loop and having to pull myself out of it back into freedom. And I think it's like, we can't run away. We can't just unplug and go, right, I'm not enjoying this, so I'm going to flip to that. Because everything travels with us, and it's going to come at some point in time. And we can keep lids on things, and we can try and keep small or stay in our safety bubble. But when you've had the courage to come out through that and you're on the other side and you can see how great we are and our freedom and wonder, it's like you want everybody to do that. If it's for them, right? You want everybody to do that. And it's about harnessing the lessons, because no matter what happens to us in life, if we harness the jewel, everything has a jewel, and that turns into gold. And then that gold can really create a brand new way of living. And everything in our life is for wisdom. You know, every moment, every experience, whatever we experience, no matter how terrible when we were born, or our growth or our childhood, it can be turned into magnificence. Not easy, but possible. And I really mean not easy, but possible. Because some of us have chosen some, you know, very difficult beginnings in life. Others, it happens at a different point in life. And when I say that, I've re-entered that many times. So after the traveling, we moved to Australia, and I knew I couldn't go back to the world, to the corporate world, and I really entered a no man's land of, I don't know who I am, I don't know what I'm meant to do here, I can't go back to that. But it was a dark time of on being in the world again, but not refusing to belong to it, but then had no identity. And in that, I realized what an identity I had built up of being a businesswoman. And, you know, that was my identity, not the true essence of who I am. And that was quite an undoing. And it took me at least 2 years. And I did a yoga teacher training in that time to do something. And that was great, because that really helped me stay in my body and really, you know, have a practice to help undo so much programming of what it is in an Irish upbringing to be successful, to be valued, to be a good girl, so to speak,
Yes.
right? And that's a deep conditioning in women, right? So we talk about empowerment and rights, and, you know, what our elders and our grandmothers, and in Ireland, you know, my granny, my nana, she fought for independence, and she was a fiery woman, and she hid the guns in the potato fields for independence for Ireland. And she didn't do that so that her granddaughter, I could even feel the emotion in it, and I haven't actually spoken in this way, her granddaughter would lock herself into a burden of pressure and being a super mom and a super career woman. And, you know, she did that for freedom, even though she didn't know what it looked like. And that's part of my great love, is to live that freedom, that invitation that our mothers or our grandmothers did their part to create a possibility for us to truly be in choice and freedom of choice of, is this right for me? Does this fill my cup up? am I able to serve from a full cup? And what does that look like, rather than this sense of to-do list and conditioning of being a superwoman? And I know in that, the feminine can be deeply rested in her heart and in her creative flow. So much healing returns to this planet, because that's nature as well, right? So I chose many lessons in this lifetime, many lessons from that time after I left the corporate world to a time after the Christchurch earthquakes. I went through 2 years at least of like a mental breakdown. My marriage broke up. I was living in a spiritual community. It was quite radical. We had earthquakes in Christchurch. I had young children, and I could feel the shadow approaching as I approached my 40th birthday. And I was running fast ahead of it because I could feel it come. And then it just took me, and my mind broke. And kind of the strong, passionate woman just crumbled. And I was in chronic depression, insanity to a level, like it was so dark, and suicidal thoughts that would never eventuate because my children were my rock, but really entering such a dark time of lostness. And I was already making chocolate, but it was in that time period that Cacao really came. And she didn't rescue me. She gave me just enough that I could say yes to life again. And I know Cacao's power because I lived it. So I was skin and bone. I was having panic attacks. I couldn't decide what to buy in the supermarket. I could barely just keep life going for my children. And my mind never quietened. I might sleep for 3 hours at night, but it's like I was just walking down this corridor of this dark shadow consuming me and bombardment of thoughts. And after taking pure cacao for about 10 days, I started to have space from the madness of the thoughts that had me, to be able to see them and know that, okay, that's not who I am. Just enough that I could take a drink of life again and start to say a tiny yes. And then another one and another one. And that journey took me to the cacao farms of the Pacific, to really hearing the voice of cacao and what she wants for humanity, and her asking of me to be in service to that. And I was too terrified at that point to say yes. Didn't believe in myself, didn't believe I was worthy. And then it was an 8-year journey to pull myself up and up and up and out of also I was then in a level of a toxic relationship and so many things, to pull myself up and out till I was about 48. And then I was like, I started to come back into wholeness and harness the jewels of that and believe in myself and my knowing of who we are first, before any pattern, any conditioning. That's what I belong to now. And radiating the possibility of who we are regardless. And my life has taught me that. It's taught me when I give it away, and I give it away to another or to a belief system, how small I become. And the hell of that, I don't believe in heaven and hell, but I believe we can walk in hell here on the planet. And I've walked in hell inside myself. And so when I know something, to own it and hold it no matter what, because I know the consequence of giving it up, giving it away. And then the beauty that can open in that, and the awesomeness and the deliciousness and the fullness of how life can be. I'm belonging to a different place. So the richness of my life experience has allowed me to be who I am now and embrace it and be of service to the level I am because of my life's experience. I wouldn't change a single thing.
I've followed you speak with all sorts of feelings come up, and his joy of honoring your path, and also, okay, then your true service can come from a different place. And what is it?
I'm deeply spiritual, and I would say in an indigenous way. So I deeply honor the rhythms of life and the moon and the cycles, and yet that's wide open. It doesn't have a definition. And from that place, it's like my journey has been to embody the lessons and integrate them into light. And so that's first and foremost for me, to just live that. And so whatever I speak is integrated experience. I don't speak from a concept, something I have read. I speak from integrated experience. So it's felt. I speak from what it is to be in chronic depression and lost and in madness to reclaiming our power. And that's possible. And being in such a bright, shining place. So it's about integrated experience. And by my daring to take my experience and transform it into light and brightness and joy, there's an invitation for all women. Because there's a path there. It's not a concept. It's possible. And I'm nothing special or different. I've just done it. That's all. And it's an ongoing journey. It's constant. It doesn't end. Like, I'm not saying it's an ongoing journey, but I belong so much to it now. I know that, okay, this might take a day, few days to pass through whatever, has been triggered or emotional, something going through. And I know it's going to pass through. And I know I'm not going to be stuck there. But there was a time after I came up and out of that darkness that I had a fear of it. I had a fear of returning to it. I had a fear that I would get lost in it again. And of course, I had to return to it. And I did. I went into it a second time because I had fear of it until I got to a place of, okay, I can feel the shadow coming. I can welcome it. I'm not going to belong to it. And I know I go climb a mountain. I go spend time in nature. I put on some crazy Irish music and I'll dance to it, and it shifts. My perspective shifts, and I take that shadow through. So because it doesn't have me anymore. I don't have fear of it, but I welcome it because I know who I am, and I know I can take everything through while still remaining as to who I am, as the light and the love in a human form, as a woman.
I think everybody that lives will encounter that shadow, those shadow parts, these shadows. And I'm with this question of how other women work with it. So when you say, yeah, you already mentioned a few things, some modalities, but I imagine that also the cacao might play a role in it. What are some of the things that you noticed really work for you when you notice the shadow coming, or how do you even notice that? So to put some real tangible images
it's
to
a practice. It's a practice. But the first thing is there has to be a wish or a want. Because we can't do it for anybody else. We can't wish it for anybody else. There has to be a wish or a want in us to change up our lives or to come out of. Because there was a period of time when I didn't wish or want it. I was just lost in it, and nobody could help me in that place. So there has to be a wish for it, or a call for it, or a feeling for it. And when there is that feeling for it, then, there's different practices, but when we have the darkness or the shadows or the depression most people in life today have a low level, at least, of depression, right? Wake up in a cloud. Yeah. It's to recognize that and recognize that we can change it. That's the first thing. I can change this feeling. Okay, so different tools work for different people. And when we give all our power to the mind, which we've done over eons of time, we know we were indigenous people, we were one with the land, we worked with the land, we were in rhythm of the sun and the moon and the winds and all of those things we worked with as an embodied way. But over eons, we've given more and more power to the mind. So the whole patriarchal world, the company I worked in, it's mind-driven, right? So the shadows are the mind, the creation of the mind. And for me, it was all about getting back into my body. So an embodied practices. Now, cacao is one of those in terms of the chemicals in cacao. It changes the chemicals in the brain. She actually works on the Thebra mind. She works on our heart. So she warms our heart. So we start feeling that body experience, and the healthiness of the chemicals help shift the balance of the negative thoughts just enough, because she's not about doing the work for us. She's about giving us enough support so we can do our own work. So it's like creating this nice tipping point. So we're like, okay, I've got this. And the way she works on the blood vessels and the heart, and it's like giving us courage, going, I actually can do this. So when I'm at a big turning point in my life, or I'm making a big change and I've got fears coming in, or restrictions or constraints or self-doubt, all of those emotions, I have cacao. I have cacao daily, so I've got this nice chemical factory going on that's positivity. I will do something physical, so that's like a very physical yoga class, or I get out in nature and I'll do it like a walk up a mountain, right? And so I'm in my body, I'm in my body, I'm in my body. And then by the time I get to the top of that mountain, I'm like, oh, what was that all about? There's no problem, because we've changed our consciousness, right? Like Einstein said, we can't solve an energy or meet it from the place that created it, which is the mind, right? So if we have the fear or a doubt or a shadow or something, that's the mind, and the mind only knows the past. So it only knows our conditioning. It only knows the programming that we grew up in, that we plugged into. It only knows what it's already experienced. And so we have to do something to shift our awareness so that we can look at that thought pattern and go, that's okay, I see you, but I'm not you. And so we're going to stay in this, and this can dissolve. And then we're like, wow, I have courage now, I can do that. And actually, what was that all about? Why was I so fearful, right? So I really believe embodied practices are so powerful to help us balance the amount of energy that is in the mind now, the amount of power the mind has in these times. Because we're in the times of undoing it, undoing the patriarch. And when I say patriarch, I'm not talking about masculine or man. I'm talking about an era that's come onto the planet where it's about mind, power, and control, and lack and fear and limitation. Whereas in times of past, when we were in true balance, we were in and this is a time of Cacao as well, in eons ago, when it was full abundance and balance and honoring of masculine energies, and in the protection and the warrior, and honoring of the feminine, the fluidity and the creativity and the nourishing of the earth and the soil and the gardens, and where we could be fluid and moving in and out of those qualities to create an abundant whole. And we're coming back into that invitation of rediscovering how that could look for these times. We can't go back to how it was, but what does that look like now? And in that dissolve the power of the mind and that patriarchal system has over us. And in that we will face fears. We will face the rules that have been put in, like it's a computer system in effect, right? We'll face those, but they're not who we are. We don't belong to them. We can watch them and watch what they do in us and have some space. And from that, create a whole new life. And I'm saying this because I've done it and I'm doing it. And that's why I can say it. It's true. In my experience, it's true. And I want to offer that to everyone to know as a possibility. In my 40s, I was a shell. I was in a dominant relationship where I felt like a piece of dirt under the carpet. I felt that so small and in self-doubt and fear. And you wouldn't have recognized me then. And so I know what's possible for everyone.
I get this image of you've gone into the dark cave and you've reclaimed your light, and now you're here with your light shining and telling others they can do the same. So thank you for sharing that. And I'm so glad for the power of inspiration. This is really inspire, like breathing in. Someone told me that recently. It's like inspiration comes really from inspiritus, breathing the soul in, letting spirit touch us.
Mm-hmm.
And can you say a few more words about this indigeneity of women? Because it's a topic I'm researching, and I'm very aware that there is a term of indigeneity that is strongly associated to colonization in more recent times. And I'm also aware that this has happened a lot, like in old times in Europe, in the parts that have lost their access to their roots and to their indigeneity. What have you got about that?
Well, it's something that's definitely been opening in me in the last few years, and really reclaiming my Celtic, Druidic, indigenous roots, which most people don't consider Ireland as an indigenous land, but it so is. And it was a guardian and a holder of such ancient indigenous wisdom. And for me, it's not something you can do. It's about a remembering. And, if people are drawn to do courses or workshops, or that's all beautiful. because they can activate our remembering. So I really believe we come into this lifetime with, connection to ancient times, to everything. I certainly experienced that in giving birth to my children, in how the ancient power of woman opened, if we allow her to, and her awesomeness and her knowing 1000% of what to do, and letting go of Oonagh and opening up to the birthing mother. Right. No doctor, no midwife, nothing was needed. It was just like this raw, awesome. I've got this because I've got all my grandmothers and great grandmothers and all who've done it over. This is known. I remember. Yeah. And so I feel, I deeply know, and in my own experience, it's about a remembering. And anything that can activate that remembering for us is that true returning to indigenous knowledge and wisdom. But in these times, it's not about going back to how it was or in other times. It has to be in these times. We can't skip out of the world we've created. We can't deny it. We've all been part of it. Whether it doesn't feel like that or not, I believe if we all own that we've co-created what is, then we can all take responsibility and just do our part. It's not about, it's not about looking at and we can get very depressed if we read what's happening on the world scene. But if we take our own power back and it's like, what can I do in my life? What is my purpose and my truth and my true authenticity of living? Then we've got power. Because we're not skipping out to a bigger something that's beyond what we can change. That can be an escape, as can be trying to recreate what has been in the past. If we can dare be in the world as it is, but not of it, not held by it or locked in by it, and activate our remembering, then we're creating new pathways of a new way of living and transforming what has been created. I ran away from Ireland when I was 22, totally own up to it. I ran away, but all of my baggage, my pain, everything came with me, right? And now I can embrace that woman at 22, that young woman at 22, and love that part of why I did that. And now I know there's no point in running away, no matter what comes at me. Because if I stand in it and transform it, freedom happens. So remembering, that's just for me a really powerful word. Our indigenous knowing comes through the remembering. So whatever it is that can activate that is golden. And then, you talked about for a woman and, and I said the word, when we called in words, I said the word balance, because I believe we're in the time of, we had a matriarchal era in eons of time. We've had a patriarchal era. It's not one or the other. It's the balance. And it's us finding our feminine flow and our masculine strength, and then meeting that in the outside and honoring that in the outside, and, just understanding in curiosity, what does that really mean? Because I really judged the woman I was in that corporate world because I was good at it, right? I was able to play the game I worked in a male environment, and I was able to, it wasn't a challenge. I had 3 brothers, so it's just like a cool challenge, right? I can be as good and better, right? And then as I opened up into my femininity, I judged her. Now I realize, like, wow, I've got great masculine skills and qualities that allow me to create the Cacao ambassador, to be in the work I'm in. And it gives me a tenacity and a fire. And at the same time, I need to understand when, okay, that's great. Now I can put that down and I can flow my femininity and where I really love being. But I want to make change, and my masculine qualities help that to happen. So now I love both. But I lean into my masculine qualities when they're needed, and I just deeply love being in my feminine flow. And that's what fills my cup. And that's what allows me to be fluid and adaptable and creative. And yeah.
I love that you talk about this moving on from matriarchy and patriarchy, that it happens in here also, this balancing. And there's a term that's been coined in the possibility management context called archiarchy. So we're coming from the matriarchy through the patriarchy into archiarchy, which is like archetypal men, and
That's
your
right.
own
It has
words.
to happen.
Yeah, it has to happen first here. Yeah,
And that's one of the greatest gifts for a woman, is for her to come into her own wholeness. And that requires self-love, self-forgiveness, putting down the rules and the pressures of what it is to be a good mother, a good provider out in the world, because we've gone so out of balance in terms of what the amount of pressure that's on women now in the world, that she can't actually rest and enjoy any aspect. And I know that, like, my children were really young and I was running a business and caring for them, and it was just my system was on all of the time. My adrenals were on all of the time. And now I know more of my own makeup, that I'm an introvert. I love human design and I understand my human design, and what allows me to really thrive from a full cup. I understand that more. And that period of time, I could not have been in self-love or self-care, because I was just so on. Whereas now my life has to be about 50-50 of self-care, inner time, inner reflection, and then out in the world on, for me to be in balance and my cup to be full. And I honor that first and foremost. So when I feel like it's getting out of balance, I step back. No matter what the pressure is, no matter what is meant to be done, I dare to step back and know filling my cup up ensures that whatever I do and however I move is from a true place and not a pattern or a checklist or pressure. And that took me, when I stepped completely out of my old life. So when I turned 50, I let go of a company, a community, everything except my beautiful teenagers. And we set up a brand new life. My source of income, everything. I left everything and we set up a brand new life. And my daily prayer was that I would learn to move from a place of trueness rather than the pressure of the world. And so whenever I feel agitation and I would pull back, no matter what I thought I had to do, I would pull back and I would give myself space. And whether I thought I wasn't going to be able to pay the bills or whatever came at me, I didn't believe it. And I gave myself that permission to recalibrate myself and then move. And it was a huge undoing and a huge turning point of knowing how fast things can actually happen and how big and how magnificent they can happen when we do that versus the pressures of how it should look. It's miracles happen. Again, I'm speaking from direct experience. So 3 years on, through living this way, the Cacao Ambassador is thriving. We're working in 3 countries in the Pacific and really holding and being with the farmers. We've opening up in Australia. Ireland is really activated as amazing beings who are so close and part of the creation now. And we have an incredible company called Weave Cacao, which is all about chocolate. And we have a charitable trust. And there is so much that has been created that I don't know how it happened.
wow.
Except the belonging to this being. Yeah. Miracles. It's like, wow. Excitement, richness, juiciness. And this way of being is possible in the world, but it's been kept a secret and kept locked away so that everybody stays plugged into the set of rules that it is to be a human being, to pay the mortgage, to have the job, to be a good mother, parent, this old paradigm that's so dense. And, to me, The Matrix is the most amazing movie, the first one. Where it's like, we're actually plugged into this set of beliefs and conditions. We dare unplug, we shake and we rattle and we roll in terms of all of these thoughts and fears and doubts. But if we align with other people who have done it or who are supportive and we find our way into living a whole new way, while so fully being in the world, so fully meeting the mortgage, so fully caring for our children and It's a whole different way of being.
Wow, and I get that it matters to know people that have walked the path. It's like also a way of collaborating
Totally.
and finding
If you're
each
drawn,
other.
then yes, finding each other. And that happens more and more as we go.
Yes. Maybe this is also a good place to come to an end, and I'm sure there's more to speak. And if people would love to hear more of you or learn from you, they can get in touch. I will put your website and contact details in the episode description. And one last question to you, or like, you already shared some practices, but is there one practice that you want to offer to women right now?
Oh, well, it has to be for me to drink cacao every day without any rules.
Without any rules.
Yeah. If you've come across cacao and you've come across ceremonial cacao and you've learned it has to be a special way, I'm speaking because cacao's given me permission to do this and she wants it. And for me, it's a game changer for humanity. It's the most simple practice. And to drink it daily gives us this hug in the mug. We feel this unconditional love when we drink it, and the velvetiness and the warmth and what it does to our body, what it does to our mind. And it is this underground soft hum of support, and we lean into it and we ask what intentions, we ask what we need help with, whatever it is, help me solve this, help me find my way out of this, whatever it is. We work and lean into cacao. Like I would say, she, so close to saving my life. That's how big her help was in my life. And it's just a soft, simple practice. And even by giving ourselves the time to make it in the morning, getting up 10 minutes earlier, making it a priority over anything else we do, is again giving permission to change things, even just that much. And that's a key. It's not about making massive leaps. It's about the small steps and taking those consistently. They build into a great step. That's why it's possible.
Thank you, Oonagh, for sharing your wisdom. Thanks so much.
An honor. And I'm here to serve any woman who's drawn, absolutely, where they feel a recognition to this. And thank you for creating space for this. Thank you. It's so important. So really honoring you and what you do, and you holding space for the voices to be heard, to inspire. Yeah, thank you.
My pleasure.
Imagine that you could become so radically alive that you would create not only the life that you love, but also the culture that comes through you, that your being is designed to create. This is what this Edgecast is about. This is what this Edgecast aims to inspire in you as you listen to this right now. And this could be a daunting thing. And daunting is not a problem. Daunting simply means it's new, it's scary, and why not do it anyway? This is where evolution lies. Evolution is there where the fear is. So we're inviting you to join us on this journey and make it your own. You can do this by, keep diving into these free episodes, the episodes that we're gifting from a place of abundance and necessity. And you can also become a member, benefiting from some special content that we upload in the membership area. But really, the membership portal is for you to take more responsibility so that we can keep creating this content. And if you were willing to step even closer into the circle, you could join our in-person live offerings online. There are many transformative workshops and trainings that are on offer from various radically alive women across the globe. And you can find all of our offerings on our website, radicallyalivewomen.com. This Edgecast is brought to you by Radically Alive Women, a team of women consisting currently of Julia Neumann, Millicent Hoey, Annika Korsten, and Hannah Abuzara. See you soon.